and welcome to Sports Fusion News. It is 3 p.m. here on the East Coast, noon time on the West Coast. Today is December 1st, 2016. I'm the host, Alex Fuse. We have a big show today. I am joined right now by Jason Lewis. Jason is a co-host of Upstate Sports Edge on CBS 6 here in upstate New York. And we have a lot to cover. A lot of big news that came out today, also with the MLB reaching a new CBA deal. And also in the NFL, the Giants are 8-3 this year, and the Jets the opposite, 3-8. And also the Patriots made an announcement today that their star Rob Gronkowski is basically done for the season as he's having back surgery on Monday and will be done for 2 months. So we have a lot to talk about on this show today. Jason, I welcome you on, and thanks for joining me. And how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. So, of course, like I mentioned in the opening, the New York Giants are now 8-3 and are second in the NFC East. And what is your take on the Giants season so far this season? And can they make it in the playoffs, do you think?
I think they have a good shot at making the playoffs. I don't see why they wouldn't. If not, definitely I would say get a wild card. But what's going to be interesting is obviously they beat the Cowboys earlier in the year. They play again next week. So I think next week kind of set the tone for the rest of the year. Yeah. Obviously, the Cowboys have been huge this season behind Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. But if they lose both games to the Giants are going to be within about a game or so. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year pans out. You know, the Giants haven't lost a game since October 9th, so 6 straight is huge for them after how they started the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to agree with you. And the other New York team, besides the Bills, of course, the Jets, they are 3-8, the exact opposite of what the Giants are. So what happened with this team? Did they not have, and I did not have them being this poor in the season. So what is your take on the Jets?
I think they had high hopes coming into the season, and I think we're all seeing right now the reason why nobody else wanted to sign Ryan Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. You know, why it ended up being so long and why he said it was unfortunate for the Jets that they had to spend so much money on him. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's interesting is at this point of the year, you know, like you said, at 3-8, they pretty much have no shot at making the playoffs. They're not mathematically eliminated just yet. Mm-hmm. But the thing is I think at this point it's time for Bowles to look to the future because you have some young guys that play quarterback. Why not see what they could give you? Because after this year, Fitz is gone unless they re-sign him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why not give those young guys a chance? Because they're still looking for that quarterback in the future. And it doesn't seem like Ryan Fitzpatrick is that quarterback for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the Jets were expecting Ryan Fitzpatrick to be that quarterback for them for the next few years, right?
Yeah, it seemed like that at the beginning of the year, especially with the deal that they gave him. But there's a reason why Ryan Fitzpatrick has jumped around a handful of teams in the NFL. And although last year probably was one of the best years of his career, you know, after getting that deal, we're seeing why he's been pretty much everywhere. He just can't be that consistent quarterback that an NFL team needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to agree with you. And well, one team that has been pretty consistent, if I would say that, are the New England Patriots. Well, they got their second hit basically of the season. Not having Tom Brady for the first 4 games would be their first, and now losing Rob Gronkowski for what we know the rest of the season, unless they make the Super Bowl. And so, Jason, what is your take on Rob Gronkowski that is going to be having surgery on Monday and being out for the rest of the season, basically? And how does this impact the New England Patriots?
Although I am an Arizona State guy, he went to U of A, so there's always been a little bit of that rivalry with me and Rob Gronkowski. You know, I like him as a player, but you kind of don't like him because he's a wildcat. But at the same time, you kind of feel for the guy. I mean, the injuries that he's gone through in his career and keep battling back and being able to play at such a high level is incredible. You know, he had back surgery in 2009. He fractured a vertebrae in 2013, and now he has another back surgery coming. So it seems like little by little, the intensity that he plays in the game, such a high level, has, you know, took a toll on his body. And you feel for the guy in that way. But I think the best case scenario for the Patriots, obviously, he's probably going to be out for the year. But Martellus Bennett, when Gronk hasn't been on the field, has been spectacular this year. You know, he got another chance getting into Belichick's system. And I think, obviously, you're going to miss a guy like him, but I think Martellus Bennett will be able to fill the void. And, you know, Belichick has made something out of nothing with a lot of players. throughout his career. You know, you look at their little quick wide receivers, you know, look what happened with Wes Welker when he left there. He wasn't really able to do much. So Belichick knows how to get the best out of his guys, and I think we're going to see that down the stretch. And like you said, it's a perfect example. Earlier in the year, Brady missed the first 4 games. Look who played quarterback for him, and look how well they did. I think it comes down to the system and how Belichick sets his players and puts them in positions to succeed.
Yeah, sounds good. And okay, we'll switch gears now to the MLB, and they announced this morning or last night that they reached a new deal with the union last night. And how exactly does this affect the offseason?
I don't think it'll affect the offseason too much. I think the biggest thing that people had an eye on was whether or not they were going to add that extra roster spot, that 26th player, which they didn't end up doing, because that, I think, would have changed the way people went about the offseason and went about filling their rosters, because one extra spot can make a huge difference, you know, down the line. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that you don't have to worry about the players getting locked out. I know that was a little bit of a concern, but it's going to be interesting to see how everything pans out from now. I haven't had a chance to look at all the fine details of it, but I know the biggest thing that I noticed, or that the talk was that there's a chance of doing, was adding that roster spot, which they decided not to do.
Well, one thing that they did announce in that new deal is that the All-Star game will not determine the home field advantage in the World Series. Now, what's your take on this? I think it's a good move, but I'm not sure how they will decide the home field advantage for the World Series. I did not have a chance to see that. And what's your take on this? And did you have a chance to see what will determine the home field advantage in the World Series?
I have not been able to see, but my guess was they'll alternate and go back to that, because I feel like that would be the only fair way to go about it. I think it's good, though, at the same time that the All-Star game doesn't, because there could be a situation where the best team in baseball doesn't get home field advantage, and that could cost them. I mean, granted, you need to go out there and play the game, but it shouldn't come down to guys having fun, getting everybody in the game. I feel like there's not. It's like you look at the Pro Bowl. You know, the guys are just going out there. They're not, you know, giving it their all in that aspect. I mean, there are a lot of players that do, so I don't want to offend anybody, but you know what I'm saying? It's more for fun. It's more for being around some of the best players and seeing them all in the same field. They're not going out there to win as much, and I think taking that away might be a better thing for the game of baseball, to kind of put it on an even playing field, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. And we'll switch gears now and do the last segment before we do the news headline of the day. And Jason, high school basketball starts this week. The first game for the Chalmette Sabres varsity boys team is tonight at 6:30. It's home for the Sabres. And Jason, I know you cover high school sports with Upstate Sports Center. I want to ask you, what teams are you looking at most for this season? And are you excited for this upcoming basketball season?
I'm always excited for basketball season. Basketball season is a good time. I haven't gotten to see too many teams from this year yet. I made the rounds earlier this week. I got to go to Troy practice, Albany High, and Albany Academy. So those are the only teams that I've actually seen personally this year. When it comes to your Sabres, it's going to be interesting to see how they fill that void left by Zach. But I think that's the biggest thing to keep an eye on. But I haven't seen much of them. Other than that, so I'm not too familiar with the Sabres yet, as I will be. But I think the interesting thing is going to be with Troy, at least from what I saw that from them at practice. They have a lot of guys coming in with that championship mentality, and the aspect the team was at the state championship, played in the state championship a year ago, lost in the final. They have 7 or 8 guys that are coming off that football team. So they have that championship mentality and that winning mentality. And for the guys that weren't on either of those teams last year, you know, that championship mentality runs is contagious. I think with Bowie being back, he got an offer from, I think Siena is the only offer that he's had so far, but he's only a junior. He's a stud when it comes to running the floor, and he's a great shooter. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they can get back to that championship and get over that hump.
And I'm going to get on that idea that you just brought up, and I think Glens Falls, you know, they just won their football state championship as well, and you know, they looked really good last season as well. So I think, you know, Glens Falls is going to be really good again with Joe Girard the third, of course, this year again, right?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you have a player like Joe Girard the third on the floor, you can never rule them out. That kid shoots the ball from 3 feet behind the arc and hitting shots like no other. He's a great dealer. He's a great rebounder. he's just an overall incredible athlete. And to see what he did on the football field this year on top of it, the kid is just an all-around stellar athlete. Glens Falls should be good again. Just having him on the floor, and they got a few other players back. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but you can never rule out a team that has a guy like that on the floor, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. And, Jason, before we wrap up the show, I like to end this show with a cool news headline that I picked for the day. And in the mainstream news today, Google Earth Timelapse. Jason, I don't know if you've heard about this, but now you can see how the planet has changed since 1984 on Google Earth. And I think that's a really cool idea, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's really cool. Anything when it comes to time lapses are very interesting. I can watch those things for days, whether it's seeing the sunset or anything like that, but to see how the Earth changed over that period of time, that must be incredible. I'm going to have to go online and check that out as soon as I get off the phone with you. Yeah.
Okay, Jason, before I wrap up this show, I want you to plug Upstate Sports Edge for the listeners or watchers right now on my show so they can go on and watch Upstate Sports Edge. When can they watch that and where?
Absolutely. Thanks, Alex. Upstate Sports Edge, Monday through Friday at 10:30 on W15. It's a half-an-hour show dedicated to local sports, high schools, colleges, and the pro sports teams in town like the Albany Devils, the Adirondack Thunder, the Tri-City Valley Cats. Obviously, they're not in season now, but everything local that you can get, in-depth coverage. Tonight on the show, we're actually having one of the Albany Devils on the show, so make sure to tune in 10:30 tonight on the CW15.
Okay, Jason, thanks again for joining me on the Sports Fusion News episode.
Thanks so much, Alex. Have a great afternoon.
You too. This concludes this episode of Sports Fusion News. Thank you for tuning in and watching the show. Please follow me on Twitter at Alex Hughes. Also, please like this video, comment below what you thought about the show, and always be a subscriber of Sports Fusion News. Thank you once again for watching. Be kind to one another, and I will see you on Monday at 3 p.m. with Brian Campbell, ESPN reporter for the WWE. We'll be talking Monday Night Raw, Tuesday Night SmackDown Live, and there's a pay-per-view Sunday night on the WWE Network for only $9.99 a month. Be a subscriber. Thanks for watching.